Fatima bint Ubaidillah Azdiya. She was the mother of the great Imam Ash-Shafi, the founder of Shafi fiqh. She was from Gaza and her husband died soon after the birth of their son. She decided to stay single and devote herself to her son's upbringing, so she moved from Asham and went to Mecca so her son could study from the scholars there. They were very poor, but she would collect whatever she could to help her son. Due to poverty, they could not afford paper, so she trained her son to use his memory as if it were a sheet of paper until he developed a photographic memory. She invested in the future of her son. She was pious and dedicated. Imam Ibn Hajar said that she was a great worshipper of Allah. Letting go. In the chapter Healing with Children in Mind, I've already discussed the importance of healing our past wounds and emotional traumas so that it does not interfere with the way we choose to raise our children. The last thing that we need as single mothers is to carry unresolved issues into our parenting. Once resolved, we should, inshallah, be in the best position to give our best to our children on all levels because we are giving the best to ourselves. This, inshallah, will lead to a beautiful and strong relationship with our children and an unbreakable bond extending from the realms of motherhood to true friendship. It is important, however, that in this journey of single motherhood, we do not become a burden to our children by depending on them solely for companionship and friendship. We have to keep this in mind, as our children are more than likely going to leave us in some capacity one way or another one day. Inshallah, it will be for the sake of them going to live fruitful and beneficial lives that we as mothers can be proud of them and ourselves for. This time may be a long way off for some of us, and for others, it may be something that we experience a lot sooner than we thought when it comes to our children leaving us in the physical sense. They are, after all, going to, inshallah, mature into adults and look to have their own lives one day and start their own families. They may go off to study or even get a job in another country. Or maybe, just maybe, you might remarry and the children will go and live with their father. There are many other ways in which, as mothers, we will need to let go of our children as they grow, and as we grow with them. As they reach their teens and begin to go out into the big wild world on their own, they will meet and get to know people that we have no knowledge of. They will, inshallah, have their own personal experiences, which they may not share with you for whatever reason. Remarriage and child custody. Allah's wisdom is infinite and encompasses all things. In Islam, if a couple get divorced, the woman has a right to keep the children with her, and the father is supposed to financially support his children. However, if the woman gets remarried, the children should go to live with their father as long as he is a practicing, competent Muslim. I had to look into this in the early years of being divorced, when I was seriously wishing for marriage, as this is what I was told. That being said, the children have a right to be brought up Islamically, and this needs to be held in the utmost importance. For that reason, many of us who are able to get remarried after divorce sometimes end up keeping our children in our new marriages. It's a shame that some Muslim fathers today lack the sense of responsibility, and many have the attitude that because we have children, no man would want to look at us for marriage anyway. But that's a whole other subject. I think during my time as a single Muslim mother, I've only known 2 or 3 sisters who have remarried and the children stayed with the father, visiting their mothers every holiday or so. If you're single for a longer period of time, and you get used to it being just you and your children, the thought of sending them to live with their father after getting remarried may be quite daunting. I haven't had that experience myself, but have known people whose mothers left them because they got married and didn't do so well for their relationship. They often felt neglected and abandoned. A mere second thought as their mothers left to start a new life with her new husband and potentially her new children. I think is quite sad actually. It's not easy, family life that is. We will all have to make some hard decisions at one point or another, and some of them do not feel great at the time, even though you want to do your best for the long run. Whenever I think of this kind of situation, I try to put myself in both positions. I try to think how it would feel as a child to be sent to your father because your mother has remarried, and what that might entail. What if the father also has a new wife and other children, which would be half siblings? How would that child be treated, and how would he or she feel? What about the mother who is sending her children to live away from her with their father? Is it easy? Does she feel a sense of freedom and excitement at the prospect of being able to move forward and start a new life unburdened? I know for me, I would rather stay single than give up my kids to anyone if it comes down to it. I'll be honest with you, I just couldn't bear to part with them, unless I knew that they were fully grown adults and leaving because they are getting married or to pursue a career of some kind that meant they had to leave me. How challenging is life and the plethora of situations that revolve around family living. To be honest, I have enjoyed the challenges and struggles of motherhood. Maybe not while I was in them, of course. I spent a lot of time feeling like I wanted to bang my head against a brick wall. But after coming through those trials, I really felt like I could have the confidence to move forward and carry on from strength to strength. One day, your children will leave you. Every parent will have to face this at one point in their lives, and many of them may be very happy about it, at least at first, or jesting in conversations. Many parents may talk about how much they look forward to the day when their children just leave. However, I think as single mothers who choose to remain single, or we just haven't found Mr. Right yet, the thought of our children leaving us can be quite daunting. Yes, of course, we want them to be thriving adults and living the best lives as much as possible. But after having such a bond for a period of time, being just you and them, thinking about life without them being around can leave us feeling a sense of abandonment. I personally don't think that any kind of mental preparation will absorb the emotions that a mother will go through when her children finally leave. Yet I think it's extremely important to have a mindset of not just expecting it, but also accepting that they will eventually move on. Your children's personal lives. It's completely normal once your children get to a certain age that they will have their own lives. You don't need to be a part of their every waking breath. Don't forget, you have worked so hard for them to be independent and strong individuals that will make you proud because of what they can accomplish. But in order for them to get there, you may have to let them go even earlier than you think. I mentioned in the previous chapter that I had let my son go to stay with his father after lockdown. I was almost finished writing this book, or so I thought. I felt so confident in my motherhood and how close I was to my children and the quality of our relationship. It was the week before Eid al-Adha. The children's father had come up to see them. He usually only comes up twice a year or so. He would meet up with the kids every day for about a week, taking them out. Towards the end of his father's stay here, my son came and told me that his father had asked him to go back with him and stay for a week. I didn't have a problem with that, as I've never stopped my children from spending time with their father or having a relationship with him, as long as I know that they're safe. I asked my son how he felt about it. Did he want to go? He said yes, he would go for a week and come back. This was just after the lockdown and my son had been sitting home for months. He didn't have much physical activity because his football and karate lessons had been cancelled, as well as his other classes. I felt that a week away would be good for him, a change of scenery at least. So, he left with his father for a week. My dad went a week later to pick him up and bring him back home. My ex-husband complained that I didn't let him stay long enough, but my thought was, why should I? You asked for a week and I gave it to you. And of course, I missed my baby so much. My beautiful baby boy who was now 13 and growing and changing right before my eyes. When my son came back home, I was so happy, and I asked him how his time with his father was, and he seemed quite happy. I try my best to be a balanced parent. It can be very hard to suppress my emotions and put common sense or logic first, especially when it comes to dealing with my ex-partner. But as my son's mother, it is my responsibility to think about his well-being and what's best for him in the long term. I saw something in his eyes when he came back, something that expressed to me that he felt unfulfilled and like he was missing something. I decided that I should sit down and talk with him to find out what he was thinking and feeling. I first told him that if he wanted to go back to his father to spend more time with him, that he could do so, and that he shouldn't feel guilty about it. He started crying, and he told me that he didn't want me to be upset with him. He told me that he wanted to know what it felt like to live with a man. I assured him that I wouldn't be upset with him at all, and that it is his right to see and spend as much time with his father as he wanted. I told him that if he wanted to go back, he could, and to stay as long as he wanted to. Yes, I told him that he could stay for as long as he wanted. There was me, being the big, brave mama, and of course, what I was really thinking was after a couple more weeks with his father, he would see what he isn't missing at all and want to come back to the comfort of his home, his room, his sister, and his mama. So he left for London a couple of days later. My heart burned from missing him every day. I really love being around my kids and deeply miss them anytime we're apart. But I'm a woman of my word. If I say something, I try my utmost to stick to it. After all, this wasn't about me, it was about my son. No matter how long I try to be the best mother that I can be to him, I can't replace the absence of a father figure in his life. I thought he'd be away for maybe a couple of weeks or maximum a month. But a month came and went. Then 2 months came and went. Inside, I was going crazy, but I just had to keep my cool. I had given my word to let him decide. He needed to have his fill and have a full experience of what living with his father would be like. Every time I spoke to him, I tried not to ask him when he was coming back, but instead encouraged him to do beneficial things for himself while he was there, such as online studies. I tried to encourage his father also to get involved with our son's education. Of course, this was me testing my ex-husband to see if he could really be useful, but that is another matter. I wanted my son to take responsibility for his learning and let him know that staying with his father for this extended period meant that he should not take it as a holiday, but as if he was living there, which would mean that he had to study. How was I feeling? Absolutely not great at all. I was really stressed out about the whole thing, trying to hold down my emotions while at the same time trying to use my rational mind and sticking to my principles. Of course, I just wanted my son to come back home. I knew for a fact that he wasn't doing anything of use there, not in my eyes anyways, not education-wise at least. And if I'm being honest, I did start to feel bitter and rejected. Why hadn't my son called me already and told me he wanted to come back home? Wasn't I the best mama in the world and the most important person in his life? How could he leave me for such a long period of time, hardly calling me, and when he did, not even sounding like he really missed me at all? I was in a serious state of internal distress. I just wanted my baby back. But then I thought about it. I really thought about why my son had that need to spend such a long time with his father, and it dawned on me that when I left my ex-husband, my son was just over a year old, which meant that he had no memory of living with his father and what it was like. So he really did have a need to see what it was like to live with, not just a man, but his father. Even if I had remarried and been living with a husband, my son would still need to go and be with his father because he didn't really know what it was like to live with him. That day-to-day experience that you get from living with someone and adjusting to their way of living and daily habits. My son didn't have prior experience of that. So in realizing this, finally, it brought some peace to my heart. Of course, I knew it before, but I really didn't think about it. So finally, 3 months came and my son finally started talking about coming home. I was so relieved and couldn't wait to see him. At the same time, I had to prepare myself internally because I didn't want to welcome him back, but I'd end up guilting him about being away for such a long time by making stupid comments. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. Sometimes as women, we can make sly comments or digs at people close to us as a way of expressing some kind of upset or frustration. I really didn't want to do that to my son because I had promised him that I wouldn't be upset for him wanting to spend time with his father. I just wanted him back safe and sound, and I wanted him to know how much he was missed and how much I appreciated and respected him for being so mature. So, subhanAllah, just this small trial was difficult for me. I was worrying so much during that time. I started worrying about how it would affect my youthful appearance. Sometimes I feel like I could literally feel my hair losing its color. Does that ever happen to you? As our children grow older, they have their own lives, their own friends and acquaintances that you may not know at all. A whole life and existence outside your realm of knowledge. Kind of scary when you want to love them and protect them as your babies forever and ever. Speaking from my own experience, I try to be as easygoing and keep as much of an open mind as possible when it comes to this. I was young once too, after all. That's kind of what scares me. To avoid pushing my children to the edge where they feel like they have to hide things from me, I just talk to them openly about any subject. I'd rather them hear it from me first rather than from someone else. All I need to know is that my kids have their heads screwed on the right way. Keeping secrets from you. Your children will grow up. They will have friends. Those friends will have lives and experiences of their own that you won't be a part of. Lives that have nothing to do with you. Those friends will share things with your children that you don't have the right to know about. And in turn, your child will share things with their friends that you will never learn, or at least they may choose not to share with you. And you know what? You need to be okay with that. You need to be okay with your child wanting to have a life and even secret things that they don't want to share with you. This is another type of letting go that you will have to do at some point. Just think back to your own childhood. Surely there would have been things or something that you didn't share with your parents, for whatever reason. Maybe because they were too busy and you didn't want to worry them. Or maybe you were scared of what they would think. Whatever the case, you need to be okay with the fact that your child just wants to have their own privacy about some things, and it could be something very simple, such as a joke shared at school, or something that happened at the bus stop between friends on the way home. Don't be one of those parents that ask your kids to tell you everything they have done or spoken about with their friends. It will most likely backfire, and you could be pushing your children into a corner where they feel they need to lie to you. Having an attachment to our children is normal, especially as single mothers, but we have to be careful that this attachment does not become unhealthy. This is why we need to have some independence from them in respect to having our own personal projects and interests. Things that keep us busy and focused that will help build our self-confidence and social lives. You may be one of those parents that always have their children around them and have a best friend relationship, or you might not. Maybe your children will move away and you see them from time to time or mostly communicate via phone, etc. Whatever the case, we want to have a good relationship with our children, whether they are near or far.